So the first thing that's going to go on is I'm going to give you a question. Okay. The 4 questions that are up on the board, it says, who makes up members of a hunter-gatherer group? Number 2, how are conflicts handled in a stateless society? Number 3, what is the difference between a patrilineal society and a matrilineal society? Like the root words for those, we'll go over those once we've answered the question itself. And then number 4, how did Islam influence law and government in North Africa? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16. So that should be about 4 a question. All right, so I'm gonna go around the room and I'm gonna tell you what number you have on this right here. Okay, so these 2 rows, you're answering question number 1. Okay, question number 2, question number 3, question number 4, question number 2, question number 4. Okay, so to find the answers for these questions right here, you got a couple options, and I know which one you're probably going to choose. You can use your book, you can use PowerPoint, you can use guided reading, or you can use Google. All right. So on your own, give you about 5 minutes. You research what the answer to your question specifically is, and then we're all going to discuss your question and hear the answers to the other people's questions and answers, and then we'll get into chapter 15, section 1. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Yes, sir. All right, how many of y'all need a little bit more time? Find your answer. We're good. Right there. Need a little bit more time? You good? Okay. Yes on which one? Need a little bit more time? Okay. I got you. Yes. How was the whole? Good. Are there a bunch of people? So maybe what 17 this morning, Coach? Yeah, right at 20.
Let's make groups.
Okay, if you're waiting, you can go ahead and go to my HRW and open it up for page 409. So that way you're already logged in, ready to go. But page 409 will be chapter 15, section 1. Will be chapter 15, section 1, page 409, right there. All right, as you got that going, let's go ahead and start with question 1. Be the group right over here. Who makes up the members of a hunter-gatherer group? Mr. Bagley, what you got?
They're mostly they're nomadic or semi-nomadic, but they move a lot.
Okay, so they are nomadic. That's one big thing about the idea of a hunter-gatherer group. We're going to come back to that idea of nomadic here in a little bit. Okay, Peyton, what do you got?
Oh, wait, I had it.
Barkley, I know I heard yours. You mumbled something.
We had the exact.
Let's
same
hear
one.
it,
We were
Barkley.
reading it to you. Hunter, gather, also called forager, any person who depends primarily on wild foods for substance. Yeah. Until about 12,000 to 11,000 years ago, common, and agricultural and animal domestication emerged in Southwest Asia and Mesoamerica.
Okay, so the biggest thing was they relied on the land for their food. And therefore, Elizabeth, how did they get food? Okay, so whatever was readily available to them, correct? All right. So the members of it, that's the only thing we haven't touched on right now. Who makes up the membership? Who lives in a hunter-gatherer group? Okay, specific though. Is there a president in a nomadic hunters and gatherer group? Okay, what are they? Who do they live with? There's like 2 words that we've used before that are okay. Tribe would be one, could be one. All right. What else? Okay, getting closer. So usually they live with, like, say, their grandfather, their grandmother, their mom, their dad, their uncle, their cousins, all of that, and everyone is what? Okay, related or kin. So you have a kinship or you have a clan. Yes, a kinship or a clan. What'd you say, Butchie?
I said tribe.
Yeah, tribe. Any of those words kind of go together, but that's what's made up of the groups that actually live together, hunt together, forage together, gather together. Number 2, how are conflicts handled in a stateless society? You want it?
Yeah,
All right, let's hear it.
so usually it's between 2 families, and they will go to like the town. They will, like talk about it amongst the elders, and then the town or the elders.
Okay, it's like a collaboration of the groups or someone that's older and wiser that's in there. Okay, they have a president. What about written laws? Yeah, not so much, right? So it's kind of like winging it with like whatever the elder feels like. Maybe he's got a gigantic thorn in his toe and he doesn't want to hear what you're saying today, and he's just going to pass judgment. You're out of here. Okay. Or maybe it's someone who's a philosophical thinker and he's going to ponder the entire thought of it and go through it. So you kind of are hit and miss. It's hot and cold of what your idea of a conflict or the resolution or anything else. So there's not like a law that says if I rob a bank, I go to jail for this long. If I rob a bank and I kill someone, I have a chance to go on death row. All right, so there's not a specific do this, then this happens. It's not a written law, and there's not a judicial system. It is up to the elders that are there and the community to decide what's best for them. Okay, so like when we think of state, we think of what? Texas. It's a state. Okay, think of California, think of Florida, think of New York, think of a state that is there. There's a governed body. They govern themselves. But then really small level, all the way down to a mayor role, to a city council, to things like that. but there's still laws that they have to follow. This one doesn't necessarily have an exact law that they follow. Okay. Number 3, what is the difference between a patrilineal society and a matrilineal society? Give me the P. So we're about to find out.
We found it was the key, it was tracing ancestry through just the man.
Okay, so just the father. Okay, so if old school talk shows, all right, they used to do a deal, and they would say the paternity test is done, and you are not the father. Okay, so paternity is the P part of patrilineal. That's like paternity, father, that's there. Okay, if I go to the hospital and I want to see my cousin, my brand new baby cousin that was just born, what ward do you go to? The maternity ward, the maternal ward. So therefore, that's the M. So what does M stand for? Goes to the female. Okay. So the lineage of who's up next as the leader goes through males with P, goes through females with the M. But who is the only person that can lead, male or female? Male. Okay. So even though it goes through the women's lineage of who is next in line, it is still a man during this time in society that rules. That's the next person up to be able to know who the ruler is of the society. Okay, good. Number 4, how did Islam influence law and government in North Africa? First thing you got to know is, what was law like in Africa before Islam? We talked about it right over here with hunters and gatherers. We talked about it right here with how to figure out conflicts. Yeah, there wasn't like a specific law like we would think of law. There was judgment. There was reflection on things that could go wrong and people that would judge for you. But there wasn't a law book that I knew beforehand. If I commit this 100% will happen to me. Okay, so tell me about how did it influence government and law? Okay, so a God had a lot to do with the influence of law or government. Agree or disagree? Okay, so the idea of something above, not just animism, not just Mother Earth, not just punishing us because of this and this, a specific single God. So now instead of having community, I think this way, I think this way, I think this way, I think this way. What happened to them? Yeah, they all connected, right? And they were all underneath the same rule. They were all underneath the same book. They were all underneath the same law of, if this happens, then this happens. Is that a positive or a negative? In your opinion, not right or wrong either way. What do you think, Osinga? You're opinionated. Let's hear it. Okay, could be because there's a specific, you know what I mean? Could be negative because just like with us, we're in a gigantic government, but there's things that we think are done better by Texans for Texans than a gigantic all states encompassed. You know what I mean? So there's positives and there's negatives to it, but it does provide stability based upon a specific law. Do you have something else to add? Yes. Okay. So the idea again of really the matriarchal part was gone. It didn't matter if a woman was the next son in line. It went straight to, this is it. It's going to be a male dominated society. Kind of takes a step back. That's kind of something you see with Africa during this time period. Everything that's going on in the rest of the world from here on out for a long, long time, you're going to see Africa like behind. Okay. So that it's like they're, 1,000 years behind everybody else based on technology, based on rule, based on ways things are. And a lot of these reasons are going to happen starting now, all the way up to the idea of slavery you know, in the 1800s still. And you're going to see that it kind of keeps Africa back. And that's going to kind of be a main influence of what history is going to be. Okay. All right. So it says throughout history, different groups of Africans have found different ways to organize themselves to meet their political, economic, and social needs. In the varied regions of Africa, climate, topography, landforms influenced how each community developed. All right. So I want you to think of this. Bagley was talking about the idea of nomadic. If your house is about to catch on fire, hopefully it doesn't ever, but if your house is about to catch on fire, what are the things that you are grabbing to get out of your house along with your life and safety? Raise your hand, tell me. Pictures, okay?
Is our family already out?
They're making it out with you. They're grabbing their things too. Okay, family though, that's a big deal. Your animals, right? Your pets, your dog, your cat, making sure your horses are freed, you're good to go.
You live off the grid, or you like?
You're in your house you're at right now. Okay, wallet, your phone, your communication, something that has everything you think you have to have in life right there. Okay, what else? Okay, money. Any important documents that you may have.
Social Security and stuff.
Yep. So people, and I don't know, it's not very often common now, but people used to have a safe. They would have a safe in their house. And that safe, they would put extra money. They would put maybe a gun. They would put jewelry. They would put all their important documents that they had to have in one location. And honestly, those things are supposed to be fireproof. So then that way, if the house did catch on fire, you had anything that's there. How many of you have ever been to a hotel or a fancy, resort type deal, and they have the little digital keypadded safes that are in your room? Okay, yeah. So like those deals there, like I have we have a basket that we put everything in that is important document related type deal. And then you got money and you got a couple other things and you got your social security card, you got your kids' birth certificates, you got all those things. So that way you always know where to go to. It's kind of filed there. What if you had to move over and over and over again? Do you think the things that you would have in your room would make the trip with you? Probably not, right? I mean, your Xbox ain't going to be able to make it because you're not always going to have electricity to plug in. Honestly, your phone may become something extra because you don't know if I'm always going to find a port to charge it into over and over and over. All right. Think of like today's term. Usually if you see someone that, let's say, is homeless or moving from place to place, they have the bare necessities of what they need. All right. Whether they have a backpack, whether they have a shopping cart, whether you are traveling through Europe, you got a backpack. That's it. Whatever you need's in there. Okay. So like your 52-inch TV, you ain't going to throw it on your back and carry it where you're going because that thing's going to get very cumbersome because you're always having to move. All right. Like on a week-to-week basis. So a pot, which you could boil water in, would be more important than a TV. You know what I mean? So the things that are really important to you kind of start going to the wayside. All right. For what you're going to do today, for chapter 15, if I can show this on the board right there. All right. Look on page 409 and find below where it says hunting, gathering societies, and then it goes to what says forest dwellers. Everybody see that? It's the black subheading. Okay. So subheading, I'm going to write down forest dwellers. Main idea, I'm going to read the two paragraphs. I'm just going to create a short sentence that says the F live in small groups. Details, live in the Democratic Republic of Congo. A question, what does nomadic mean? You should know the answer to that one, but you're creating a question based upon those two paragraphs. Okay. Whether you do it on notes and you create a grid, it's up to you. Whether you do it on paper and you draw lines, just like this, that's up to you, okay? The next one I would do is I would scroll down to social structure. I would read the paragraph. I would write down social structure and subheadings. I would say what the main idea is that is there. Okay. I would go to details and I would go to what the question would be that's there. Okay. There's 7 of those. I've already done 1 of them. So that means there's 6 left. Chapter 15, section 1. When you come in tomorrow, you're going to be able to use this on your chapter 15, section 1 quiz. All right. So there'll be like 5 questions that'll be in tomorrow's. All right. So you'll have your sheet of paper. As soon as you walk in the door, we'll get ready. I'll publish it. You'll take chapter 15, section 1 quiz. Be good to go. All right. Anybody have any questions? All right. Get after it.